my name is Xing. Basically, last month, Aaron suckered me into doing a talk for OKC Ruby. Since I've never given a talk, he tried to sweeten the deal with a t-shirt. So if you want any free t-shirts and also are interested in a talk, you can talk to him and he'll just get you some free t-shirts. Yeah. So my talk today is called Intro to Failing in Ruby. What that is just, since I suck at Ruby, that's basically what I'll be showing you guys. But really, it's about exceptions and errors. So in Ruby, everything that comes up as an error is an exception. And there's like a list of a hierarchy where everything is an instance of the exception class. And is that too small for anyone? Yeah. So all of these are basically subclasses of the exception class, and some things of note are standard error, which is the default for a rescue, runtime error, which is the default for arrays, and then if you're really special, you get this fatal one, which is impossible to rescue. So what can we do with this knowledge right here? Whoa, we get a black screen, nice. There we go. So, I guess we should begin with how to create an error. Suppose you have this nice little method right here called Aaron can I have a t-shirt, and you wanted to throw an error. Well, in Ruby, you use the keyword raise, and that will just automatically give you a runtime error. If you wanted to do something more like a special error, you could do the exception type right there from the whole entire list. You can also create your own if you want to, and then that will actually raise an argument error. To specialize it some more, you can have a optional second parameter, which gives you like the error message that you want to do. So when he gave me the shirt, it was too large, so I gave it back to him, and it was about several weeks before he came back with another one. So just kept on giving me lame excuses. There's also a third parameter for arrays, but that's basically an array of the call stack. If you wanted to ever change it for some reason, go ahead, it's there for you. It's an array of strings. So now that you know how to create problems in your program, how do you handle it? So just based on what we had before, we can put it in a begin-end block, and the magic thing is the rescue. With the rescue, you basically capture all standard errors by default, and when you raise, it will just go directly to the rescue and then continue on with your program. And if you were to go for capturing a very specific type of error, then you will just raise the same type of error and also rescue the same type of error. You can also not have that, and it will just capture everything. That is standard error. Because index error is under standard error right here, so good old object-oriented stuff. And so, armed with this knowledge, what can you do? Well, you can, after capturing a specific error, you could use the arrow and a variable name, and you can look at it. So with exceptions, errors and exceptions are synonymous in Ruby. They call it exception at the root, but then most of the exceptions are just called errors. So interchangeable, yeah. So you could look at it, and if you use the inspect instance method on the variable, you can see like both the type of error and also the error message. You can chain rescues, in which case, if it goes to the first one, doesn't find it, and you can go to the second one, in which case you can use a more generic one or a different one if you want to, and treat it differently. And backtrace is just basically call stack. There's other things on there like full message and other things. You can go look at Ruby docs if you wanted to. There's also an else on there if you wanted to just go all the way through, and if nothing fails, then the else will fire. And finally, there is an ensure, which is, if you're familiar with other languages, it's the finally. So regardless of what happens, this one line will fire no matter what, even if it crashes. And then it will terminate, probably. So another thing that you can have in the begin and end block is you can just have ensure only on there. So you might wonder, why don't we just have one rescue clause and just always rescue from exception? Well, if you had something like this with the just rescue exception and you were to put it in some sort of a loop, which I don't know why, but yeah, just for fun, this thing will pretty much, as you can read from the error statement, it will never die, because when you rescue exception is pretty much the root of all evil over here. And if you normally for a Ruby program, when you do like Command C, it actually sends a signal to terminate, or actually it's interrupt, sorry. And since you rescued something that falls under exception, it will not terminate. And then if you try to use the kill signal with a kill, it will still not terminate because signal is also under there. The only special way to do it is if you do a kill-9, that will definitely kill it, or you close your terminal window, and that usually sucks though. So now what? Well, with begin rescue, you can also have this nice little handy keyboard called retry. What retry does is it goes back into the beginning of the begin block and tries to run it again. If you did this thing, it will just basically keep on raising and retrying forever, and it will never get to that puts in the bottom. But you could do something simple with like a variable, and then check to see how many times it's gone through to see if you want to retry it like multiple times. And well, for this one, it'll be 3, right? So there's your handy dandy retry. I was amazed when I saw this thing. It's like, wow, retry logic built in with any other things. You have to actually program this entire obscure. So yeah, Ruby's awesome. So now that you know all that, what else do we have? We have inline rescues where Ruby is super concise and you can actually put rescue on the same line. So sometimes you might want to do that, sometimes you don't. That is because rescue, you can't do specific types of errors. It's only standard error. Rescue and ensure could basically go into anything. So it doesn't have to go into a begin and end. If you do like a method declaration, class, module, like any type of loop, do end loop, you can put a rescue in there. You can also do an ensure if you wanted to do. And then I left out the else because if you just put the else in there, it's going to give you a nice little warning that says it doesn't have a rescue paired to it, but it will still work. Other things that you might want to look up is global variables $$ exclamation mark and $@ symbol. What those are basically the very last exception and the last stack trace for those things. In addition, you can also do error handling at the @exit. So just before the program exits, it will hit this thing, and if you wanted to, you could do some fun stuff with it. And then for threading, it's kind of crazy. You have to take special considerations, otherwise it might fail silently, and there's more. So, aren't you all excited? And that's pretty much my slides for now. So, are there any questions for Aaron?